Idea that there would be this many people here. So my notes were short and sweet. But I just want to thank my wife of 43 years, Edith Jackson, who's the and 25 years ago we had a dream to get this thing started, and we stepped out on shaky ground, and we did our best for the last 25 years of providing engineering services throughout the Southeast and some places in the Midwest. Just to back up, I wanted to recognize several folks in my career here at the university. My advisor was Ed Saxer, and room, I think it's named after him down the hall here. I wanted to take some education, because at the time I was in school, there weren't many black engineers, and my grandmother said you better have a backup plan to take some education classes. So I sat with Ed, and he said, you're going to be a civil engineer. We don't have to worry about any other job but being a civil engineer. So I took him at his word, and I couldn't fit it in anyway. We had 150 some hours to take to graduate. So it was a challenge just in itself. And David Colony, who was my favorite survey professor, taught me surveying 1 and 2 and highway design 1 and 2. So I really, that was the only class that I got B's in, was surveying. So I'm giving you guys a good piece of me here. But I wanted to go back, and the history of my family really originates in Ohio. My grandmother's grandmother and her sister were some of the first black students at Oberlin after the Civil War. And Cecilia Winchester was my great-great-grandmother. And my grandmother Gladys Jackson and Birdel Sr. and my parents Leslie Ann and Birdel Jr. were the nucleus of sending me here. And the other part of the equation was Ohio State University didn't have any dorm space. So in '63, after I graduated, I found out that I was not going to OSU, I was coming here. And that worked out to be best, because the civil engineering class was only 30 students when I started. And 4 of those gentlemen were black, myself and Silas Tarver, Fred Reynolds, and Robert Phillips. Came all the way through this program, kind of leaning on each other. And we were the smallest group other than engineering physics and Chem E. So we had our hands full. There was a lot of MEs here because of our automobile industry, but we toughed it out. We took the EIT and the PE exam. They gave it all in one time down in Columbus, and we passed. And that allowed me to be able to go to my own practice by being a registered engineer. So if you're a civil engineer and you're within the earshot of my voice, I'm going to get on my speaker platform and tell you to get your license. That's the #1 thing to do. I want to recognize a few of my fraternity brothers, Alan Bannister and Norm Bell. They were members of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, and they helped me grow up as a man at this campus, besides the mentoring I got from Ed Saxer, David Colony. And lastly, I want to recognize Ted Parr. You might not know about Ted Parr, but he was the first black man to finish UT's engineering program. And Ted Parr picked me up at the corner of Underwood and Dorr Street and took me down to the Toledo engineering department every day that I worked here my summer of my senior year. So Ted Parr is not with us anymore, but he mentored me every day in his little Ford Falcon. And we put down to engineering, and he would give me words of wisdom. So Ted, I know he's looking down, so I just want Ted to be recognized, as well as my family and folks here at the university who helped me make my career what it is, so that I could have the opportunity to give back as my grandparents and great-grandparents had. And Hiram Jackson, as always, he passed a legacy forward. So when I got ready to come to Toledo, he had put money aside for me in 1900. So he never knew his grandson or his great-grandson who would benefit from it, but he knew that we were going to get an education. So all of that propelled me to this university. I just want to, in some way, give back. And lastly, part of the giving back is we're endowing a scholarship for minority students as part of this give back. So thank you again for the opportunity, and we will still stay engaged with the university until I breathe my last breath. Thank you.